evening. This is TalkBack. I'm Sheila, and today I have the great pleasure, of interviewing a friend, a very important friend, because she is an art historian and an art collector. Her name is Barbara Belgrade Spargo. Good evening, Barbara.
Hi, Sheila.
It's so nice that you came here.
I did make the schlep up here for you.
That's wonderful. And you have so much to offer, and we want to talk about you. So, Barbara, art is your passion in life, right?
Yes.
And you started to become an art collector at a certain point in your life, and you have a magnificent collection in your home, which we'll show some photos of it later, right? Mm-hmm. And you also figured out what period in history was the one that you really appreciated the most and wanted to collect. So tell us, how did you get started collecting? What came into you? How did it happen?
It was just, it's like everything else. It's like a fated thing to be. My husband and I were in the city, and we were walking up Fifth Avenue when I saw a crowd of people going into this brownstone. And being as nosy as I am, I said to Al, "Where are all those people going?" He said, "How do I know?" I said, "I'm going to go find out." So I ran across the street, Fifth Avenue, and went up in the elevator, and everybody was getting off at the floor 7. I got off, and the doors in those days opened directly into the artist studio. And this very young, very, very tiny woman said, "May I help you?" And I went, I think that's a trick question. I have no idea where I am. And she said, "Well, this is an art gallery. Would you like to come in?" And I said, "Okay." And in I went. And I had no idea, none whatsoever.
But you had studied art in school, hadn't you?
I was an art historian, so I learned how to talk about art. I talk about it as art. All art is a narrative, and all art reflects history. But when you're in the middle and you don't know where you are, was when you're finally, it's that gasp. And so that was the start.
Okay, and then you decided that there was one particular area in American art history that you loved the most, and you wanted to start collecting those pieces on your own. With whatever money you could dredge up and save. How many years ago did you start doing this?
Well, I married my husband in 1974, and we went into the city frequently, so probably around 1980 is when I really started with Kraushaar Gallery.
So almost 40 years now.
Right, and Kraushaar Gallery happens to be the oldest gallery in New York City. It was started by the Kraushaar brothers in the Lower East Side. And so, once this woman introduced me to what the art was, I began to relax a little, and she said, "Would you like to look? Would you like to, see anything that interests you?" And the first piece I was drawn to was Robert Henry, who happens to be the most important artist in the turn of the century. Robert Henry was the leader of the famous Charcoal Club, and then it became the very famous 8, and that's what I collect, the famous 8.
Okay, you're going to tell us about that. But then there was also another expression, the ASHCAN School. Is that part of that?
Well, the ASHCAN School, that's a funny story. So these guys, the Charcoal Club guys, there were 5 of them, and Arthur B. Davies spotted them and said, "What are you guys doing? You're playing cards. You're not doing anything. Why don't you get up and go into the city and do something with your life?" Where
were they? They weren't in New York City?
No, they were in Philadelphia.
Okay.
That's Thomas Aiken's hometown. So they said, "Yeah, you think so? Go into the city. I'll give you $50. You go in and find studio space. Do it on Fifth Avenue." So they went into an area, they paid $50, and they got space. They were all excited, so that everybody hung their pieces. Now, there are 5 of them.
Turn of the century.
Turn of the century. So,
and not the 21st century. We're talking about the 20th century.
1890s, right, 1945. Anyhow, so they gathered up all the pieces that they each individually painted. And they got ready to open the doors the next day. They were all excited, and people in the city were piling in, and you know how it is. Everybody wants to come see. So everybody came to see, and the next day the guys ran out to get the newspaper. All they wanted to know was what the press said, and the press said it was garbage, just garbage, not worth seeing. Hence, the ASHCAN School.
Oh, wow. But that first review changed, didn't it?
Well, it certainly did
How
change.
How did it change?
Well, I guess once they all got together and they got really serious and they became a name. They became a name because of Arthur B. Davies, once again, who was promoting them. And they began to show. It started out simply, you know, they were called ASHCAN, and then they began to be more important. And then they had the next label. Everybody has to have a label. The famous 8. And that's what I collect.
So tell us, who were the 8? Do you have them?
Oh, yeah, well, I have them here.
All right, who are the 8?
Let's see if I can do it without looking. You have Henry, Sloan, Shin, Lukes, Prendergast, Arthur B. Davies, Lawson, and there's always the 8th, I always forget. Prendergast, I said. But there are 8, the famous 8, and that's who I collect.
And what was it about the ASHCAN School, the famous 8, these artists that started in Philadelphia, came to New York City? What is it about their art that attracted you?
Because their art was a narrative, and their art spoke to me. That has to be important before you even purchase a piece of art. Does it make you want to get into this piece of art? Do you want to wrap your arm around it and hold it? You have to have some emotion. It's like, you know, you buy something, it's got to be something that fits you and it looks nice on you. That's a piece of art.
Okay. Well, that's what you've taught me, because when you go to a gallery, because you see still life, you see scenes of landscapes, but that's not your forte. That's not what you really enjoy. And you've taught me that every piece of art that speaks has to speak to you and has to tell a story. And you have to enter that work,
walk
into it, and find out what's going on here. What are these characters doing?
What is the artist telling you?
What is the artist telling you about it? And that's so important. And that's what you've taught me as a friend, so that when I go to a gallery, I can kind of look at that. And the ASHCAN School also is tell us how it brings us into the history of that period of time also.
Well, it's considered urban realism because you're coming out of the European force. In those days, everything was dictated to you. What the academy said you had to paint. If they said you had to paint the unabashed nakedness of a woman, that was right because they said it. And the ASHCAN said, no, we're not going to do what you want. We are going to do what we want to paint. We want to be able to paint something that is more appealing to us. We don't care about the academy or their dictating rules.
And so they had more urban, as you said, urban realism.
Urban realism.
And it was the period of immigration, the period of early politics in the city.
All of it was coming together. The new wave of immigrants were coming in. The suffragettes were taking off like crazy. Thank God. It was a very interesting time for everybody in New York City, especially New York.
And so these artists sort of chronicled the history through their art.
That's right.
They really did.
Yes, they
did. And that's why those pieces really can speak to you.
That's right.
And you love that period.
I do love
and
that
so
period.
Approximately how many pieces? I've been in your house and it's wall to wall, right? Your collection.
Only 505 pieces as of today.
Wow. And some of them are on loan at
they've
museums?
Been on loan to the New Britain Museum of American Art. They've been on loan to the Lyman Allen Museum. They've been on loan to the Florence Griswold Museum.
Wow.
And I think loaning out a piece of art gives it more spirit. You know, because other people get to see what I see and read it. That's my goal.
Okay. And you've got a sign. We're going to show it in a few minutes. We look at some of the photos of the art, which they're photos. You've got to see them really in person. But there's still a symbol of it all. You've got a sign in your kitchen. It says, "What is art?" And then you've got another sign that says, "Art is life." Right?
It is.
It is. Art is life. And you also want always to tell me what modern art is. Is that what is modern art? What does that mean?
Well, modern art happens to be the breakaway from the European days. European art was different. That's why I collect American art, because I wanted to focus on American art. I'm an American. I live in the United States, So I had European art when I didn't know any better, when I was just buying to buy, you know. And so I donated all my European art, everything, every single piece, I donated it. And with that money, well, donated, made a little bit of money, you might say. And then I started to focus on the American wave. And that happened at the turn of the century.
And you're still buying pieces now, right? You keep going on
Yes,
and buying?
I do. I'm not that delicate child I was that I had to make layaway payments. And that was like, I had to make sure I made out my check and I mailed my check, you know. No, today it's different, and I still deal with Kraushaar Gallery.
I was going to say, is it the same person?
Same gallery. I grew with the owner.
And she's still there?
And she's still there, and she gives me first dibs. What I mean by that is the estates. Somebody dies in that estate, and the people, most people know to go, their art should be given to Kraushaar Galleries, right. And she will do the best she can to find the proper owner. So I get first dibs.
And she knows what you like.
And she knows what I like. And she also knows what I need to fill in spaces.
Right, in your collection.
In my collection. So she's built it with me.
Okay. And of course you've lectured. I've seen you lecture at the museums and at different organizations about your art and your art collection, right? So now we're going to take a little tour through some of the photos that we have.
Okay.
Can we start showing some of the photos so that Barbara can lead us into the works and show us how, let's just take, this is in your house. What is that?
That is a Jackson Pollock fabric chair.
Okay, so.
That's how you start out. You come into my house and you're going to be a little overwhelmed by the walls, well, what's on the walls. But if you focus right there on a chair, as simple as a chair, it's got to grab you.
Okay. Well, and we don't have a picture, but your coffee table is...
my coffee table is a Miro.
Is a Miro. We'll see a Miro later. All right, let's go on. Now, what's that?
I love this. I named this one. That was one of the very first pieces that I bought. And I loved it because, well, I'll give you the name. I named it Prostitutes at Christmas. No offense, but that was it. Now, this is an interesting one. The head is cut off, as you can see. The man's name is Philip Perlstein. And Al had in graduate school, there was an instructor that got very close to my husband, Al. And he suggested buying a Prendergast. Not a Prendergast.
Perlstein.
A Perlstein. And that's why I got a Perlstein. Perlstein cut off half the body.
And what is that telling us about what he thinks of women, or that one?
That's right. It's actually a statement. You know what? All women are is from the neck down, is what he is saying. So forget about her having a brain.
Okay. And now what's this one?
This is called Step Right Up. Once again, I name these pieces. I name them because when I looked at it, I knew it was a barter. You know what?
Barker.
When you go into a circus or a carnival, that's the carnival barker. The man in front is selling tickets, and she's up there trying to promote them. Come buy a ticket to the burlesque show.
Right. Oh, this is a great one.
Now this once again, I named it. I've named it Hillary and Bill voting. Do you understand Hillary with the blonde and Bill with his gray?
Yeah. So when that was done, of course, way back in the early 1900s.
No, that's 1940s.
Oh, that's in the 40s?
Sure.
Okay, the ASHCAN School went from what years?
1890 to 1945.
Oh, okay, so this would be a later period.
Yes.
So, well, let's go back to that one, because I just want you to talk about how you go. So we're going into that room, right? Tell us how we walk in and see what's going on.
Well, the artist wants to grab you, so you're immediately grabbed by, the red jacket always brings people in. And then you wonder, well, what are they doing? I mean, you gotta look for a minute. So that is what becomes a narrative. What is going on here?
Okay.
Well, would you say voting? Because we don't vote like that today.
Yeah. It looks like that's probably what it is.
But you see the little bit of the sign there?
Yes.
Vote yes.
Vote, so they are at the booth, yeah. Interesting. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Now that's more of a landscape, but what is special about that? Why do you love this one?
It isn't that I like landscape, no offense. I like a narrative. And this one speaks to me because it's cubism, it's expressionism, it's modernism, and it's an artist that people do not recognize. This is Patterson. And people don't realize who it is because they don't see his work. And to me, I had to have it. I just had to have it. You can see by the color, you can see by just being brought into this piece, it smothers you.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, let's go.
Now there is Cartier on the far lower left. Cartier. And you are in the heart of Manhattan.
Fifth Avenue.
Fifth Avenue, right there.
Beautiful.
This one is this one. I absolutely love this one because I make you read this.
Now we have to say, every one of these paintings is on your walls.
Yes. Oh,
okay.
yes, everyone.
Okay.
505. So you
go back.
Okay, so this one, like I say, walk into a piece of art. Just walk in and let it bring you in and then settle down for a second and then you say, where are we? What's going on here? Wait a minute. I see canteens in the background, a little blonde lady right there. Okay, so we have the sailors over here. They look Canadian. Then you have their duffel bags, so you're still reading. Duffel bags means they may be shipping out or shipping in, but on the far right is what you should focus on. Not that I want you to understand, they are black and they are not integrated. So the question is, when do the armed forces get integrated?
Well, I think we know that President Harry Truman did it in 1945, something like that.
1945, and there you have them. Before.
This is somewhere during World War II,
That's
probably.
Right. Absolutely.
At a canteen, and the black soldiers are separate.
Oh, yes. They could not, they were not integrated. They were absolutely segregated.
This is a painting you walk in, and it makes a statement to you.
Yes.
And you can study the war, you can study integration, you can study the canteen. And the
uniforms. And the uniforms are important. And you know who the leader is because he's smoking right there with his hands on his hips.
He's, here. And the casual white sailor at the bar. He's just carefree. He's not
having a cigarette. Remember the cigarettes in those days.
Cigarettes are important then.
Right.
Okay, great. Let's move on.
This is my ladies. My ladies. I named this one also. My ladies are sitting out in the waiting room. They're probably going to discuss their hats, or maybe they're going to discuss having a cup of tea. That's how I read this.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. They're waiting to go into a tea room or something like that.
But they're all very proper with their hats on, gloves over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Good. Okay, next.
That's my Calder. So I bought a Calder.
Alexander Calder.
Alexander Calder, the sculptor. He made sculptures. This is a mobile. A mobile is something that moves.
Right in your entryway.
Right in my entryway in red, because I donated the black one to my library in town, and I kept the red one. They got the black one.
That one looks black. Am I wrong? Maybe does it look the right color?
It's to be shared.
Okay. Next one.
I love this one too.
What does red do in a painting?
It brings you in. It focuses. Now that woman, she's standing there. So you stand a minute with the woman, and you look over to your right. Now wait, just a minute. Is that a red carpet? Does she want me to go in that shop? Geez, I'm all alone. I shouldn't be out here alone. I need an escort. And there's the woman the owner of the shop. See her up on the balcony looking down?
Oh, she's looking down.
So the woman in red, you have to ask yourself, well, will she go in or won't she go in?
Interesting. Now, what makes this painting
This one
special?
is very unusual for me. I never heard of oil on glass. I swear, never heard of oil on glass. I'm not an artist. I'm only an historian. So how would I know what art on glass is? This was paint on glass. and she divided it so that you could see the lady having her breakfast or whatever, and then you see the other side of the room. I just love it.
Yeah. Okay. That's just one of the walls of your house.
This is a little tiny room. This is Al's. You might say, my husband Al. Before he died, people would come in, and they always wanted to have his thoughts on different subjects. He was a very bright man. He was just somebody you could talk to easily, not like his wife, who's a little high-wired, you might say. And those are my pieces of art in that particular room. But I love the little lady with the
on the
spyglass, looking out. Looking out at the water to see if her husband is coming ashore.
Neat. Okay. And that's right on your kitchen. What is art?
What is art, and why does it matter? If you're going to be in my house, it should matter.
And why does it matter, Barbara?
Because it's life. Art is all about who we are. I mean, you can't go anywhere. A piece of furniture is a piece of art, or it's just there. It's whatever it is. It makes you stop and look. That is what art is.
Okay, and we have some more, don't we? Oh,
I love this one. I love this one. This is Under the L down in the Bowery. Now, I don't know if the Bowery is still what it once was, but this is what the Bowery was. And that woman to the right is being thrown out of a bar and grill. Imagine, see in the close-up, the two men, I guess you would say they were hobos in those days. That's what you would call
hobos,
them.
Or was she a lady of the evening, perhaps, being thrown out, or just a
well,
hobo?
It could have been a lady of the evening, but it's what you read into it.
But again, it's what you read into it.
That's right.
But
what you read is what it is.
Okay.
Oh, gosh, I love this one. This is called Intimate Moments. Now, you know that the ASHCAN, I read off their names, Sloan and Shin. So right here, the closest woman is Dolly Sloan. Now, that's Sloan's second wife. And this particular wife ended up being a prostitute and an alcoholic. I don't think his choices were exactly stable. But that's only my
But he was a great artist.
He was a great artist. And that's his friend Shin and his wife, I don't know his wife's name, but this is Dolly, who's reading the book.
And there you go.
There's the Miro hanging and swinging. It's in my kitchen. And I just gave, I tell this to Sheila, she'll kill me. But anyhow, I had two Miros that didn't go because once I started to focus, it was on American art. So I had two Miros standing up, and just standing loose. I didn't know what to do with them. My kids have already got plenty of art. So my neighbor came in and he said, "What are you going to do with those two pieces?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "I'll take them."
He just took them?
He just took them.
Well, why didn't you give it to me? Really?
Well, I mean, it was one of those things. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to say. I was a little tongue-tied.
Who made it, put it in a mobile type thing?
Yeah.
Who did that?
The mobile swinging?
Yeah.
That's I bought that in Miro.
Yeah,
I bought that. Yeah.
So Miro is not part of the ASHCAN School.
No.
It's considered part of the Cubism.
Yes,
right.
and surrealist.
Yes. So we had a touch of that where you have your art is life sign. Okay, let's go. Oh, this is an interesting one.
Oh my gosh.
See, I couldn't read this at first. I didn't know what all the fire was and where they were. But
wait. This is how when I say art is a narrative, you have to look at that piece. There's something going to draw you right in. Immediately you're drawn into the red
hat
cap.
Yeah.
Who wears a red cap?
At the train station.
At that time, it was the train station. So then I point out people running to the train, but what is that black smudgy thing up above?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's steam from the trains. No, it's nicotine. And nicotine is what our president's Jackie Kennedy, she took pains to have it all cleaned up. All the ceilings in Grand Central Station.
They were going to try to tear it down.
They were going to tear it down.
Her work really saved it. That's right.
She
and
saved
they cleaned it up. So again, because you know the history, and you can walk into that painting and see that.
Yeah.
It's not a fire, it's not steam, it's the nicotine. So
It's
people,
nicotine.
smoking was just something that
Well,
was
everybody
natural.
smoked except me. I'm asthmatic, so I would have died
But
of
in those years, in
those days,
between
my mom and my dad were heavy
during your
smokers.
ASHCAN School years, everybody's smoking.
Yeah.
Half the paintings have smoking.
Sure. Not like
Let's
today.
go on. Okay, here you are. And this is when I brought a few friends over, and you were giving us a tour of. That's just another wall in your house.
It's
right?
a small wall.
A small
it's just
wall.
a small portion of the
a small
wall.
portion,
But
right?
what's important here is what I'm pointing to. Do you see the centerpiece with the bar?
Yes.
That's McSorley's bar.
Yeah,
in
we
New
have a
York
big
City,
one of that. Yeah.
And the oldest bar in New York, and it's located down the Lower East Side.
Right, and that was one of your husband's favorite
That was Al's
paintings.
favorite.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Okay.
Not that he drank. He
Oh,
did
there you
drink.
are again in front of the McSorley's bar is one
Yeah.
of the
Well,
things.
you caught me off base here.
Okay, let's move on. We don't want you to be off base. What's special
now,
about this?
That's an etching. And in a minute, we're going to show you the drawing. This is an etching of two ladies eating an ice cream cone. Now, you see how it's an etching. Do you see how they etch it in? You have to have a very sharp knife, and you etch in a piece into a plate. That becomes an etching, and then there should follow up now with the drawing.
Yeah, let's see if we can find the drawing.
Anyhow, there is a drawing of this.
Okay. Oh, well, we'll get back to
McSorley's
it.
bar again.
No, go back to the McSorley's bar. We just saw the larger photo of that. Oh, the etching, and now there's okay. So, what makes that painting special? Is it just the mood, the famous saloon?
Because it's McSorley's bar,
Yeah.
and that's a very historical spot in New York City.
Yeah.
No women, by the way.
Right.
You notice?
Yep,
No women.
No women.
Right. Not like today. I can go into a bar and get a beer and sit there and
Back
drink
then,
out
a
of
woman
them.
wouldn't go in without an
No,
escort
no,
in those
no,
days.
no,
Okay,
absolutely
let's
not.
go to the next one. Do we have a few more? Now some more walls.
I think we were just here. We
saw that one.
Let's
Let's go again. Let's go see what else.
Go again. Keep going.
Keep going.
Now this is very interesting. If you look carefully, you can see up front there's a mother, it looks like a mother with her daughter holding two babies.
Right.
And in the background, figures have no faces. They're anonymous because they're immigrants. And they have just come to this country, and they have no idea which way to go, what to do with their lives now.
So this
that's
is
why
the
they're
time
anonymous.
Between the late 1800s and the early
That's right.
1900s.
Yep.
We had the influx of immigrants. So
Right.
this could be maybe Ellis Island or something
Well, it
like
is Ellis
it.
Island.
It is Ellis
yeah,
Island.
it is Ellis Island.
Okay, and the faceless people in the back represent the.
They don't have a name yet. They don't know where they
don't have
are.
a name, they don't have a home.
Right.
Very
no home.
interesting.
Right.
Okay, let's move on to the next one.
This is just a flea market, but it's a very nice flea market. The Jews would be here a lot, and I emphasize Jews, and I don't mean to, but the reason is right down in the Lower East Side, and this is as far as they could go, and this is where they did some of their little shopping, food shopping, or the wares. Their little wares were set out here for them.
Okay. All right, I think that's the last photo. So, do you have a favorite?
I tend not to say I have a favorite.
Okay.
I don't think that's fair. If you're a very serious art collector, I don't buy something I don't like. I don't buy still lifes. I don't buy abstracts. It has to tell a story. And so that's how I distinguish what I have in my home.
Okay. And you're still going to keep buying art as long as you can, no matter what?
See, you miss Sheila. You haven't been to my house in a week. And a new piece just
already?
came in. I was forced to do it.
Okay.
Somebody forced me by gun.
All right. So if you were to give advice to me or someone else, because your passion is very affecting. It's contagious. I want to feel that way about art. I want to have that enthusiasm about it, and want it to speak to me because it's life, as you say. So what do you suggest we do? What do we read? What do we do? Where do we go to learn? Should we go to a gallery? What should we do?
I would tend to say go to a few museums. Go there and get a guide. Ask one of the curators if they could give you a tour, and start by having a tour, and then see what you're drawn into, and see what you want that curator or that docent. Docents are wonderful. I started at Yale. I was as a docent while I was working for AT&T, and these docents are smart. So that's what I would do.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't mention that your art is a big part of your life, but you were an executive at AT&T for many years.
I was.
One of the first women in that position.
65 years. I worked full time, but as an executive at AT&T, I have to remember how women were treated before this Me Too movement.
So let's talk about a little bit of time we have left about. We didn't have The Beach Is Coming, which we should have.
Oh, The Beach Is Coming. You don't. Yeah,
I don't,
well,
but we'll do that next time. Yeah. Talk about the women artists who were maybe around at that time or struggling. What is it about women in art and how they've progressed or not over the years?
Well, it's got to be difficult. It had to be really difficult. For instance, we just mentioned this woman, Beatrice Cumming, which you don't need to see it, actually. I can just tell you, Beatrice Cumming was a woman that came from Boston on the train, and she was attracted to industrial sites. Somehow, she saw from the train General Dynamics in the submarine base. She got off the train, ballsy as hell. Took a little suitcase, didn't have any idea where she was. She was in New London. And New London is where I was born. And so she ended up in New London, walked up J Street. If you know New London, she walked all the way upstate, got to J Street and saw a sign in a third-floor tenement that said vacancy. And she went there, and she lived and died.
And it turns out that house
is across
the street from the All Souls Church.
All Souls Church, which I got a phone call. One day I picked up the phone and it was like, very hesitant, like, geez, I'm sorry to bother you. You're Barbara Spargo. Yeah? Someone told us that you collect art. And I said, I do. Well, would you like to come here and see it? And I went, sure. I mean, there I am, sure. So she said, when can you come? Now. So I got in my convertible. I only owned convertibles.
But you knew about Beach Is Coming at that point.
I did not.
Oh, you didn't know what it was yet?
No, I did not.
Oh.
I did not.
Okay.
Never heard of it.
Oh, okay. But you got in your car.
I got in my car by myself because, the convertible top was down. I said goodbye to Al, goodbye, and off I left Renoir and Gauguin at home, and off I went.
Renoir and Gauguin are your pets.
Oh, yeah, well, I had Toulouse-Lautrec, Gauguin, and Matisse.
And now you've got Pablo.
I got Pablo Picasso.
Okay.
There's a little trend here.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyhow, I got to the church, to All Souls. It wasn't a church. It's really...
No, it's a church.
It is a church. And two women came out, and one of them was the president of the society, and she said, would you really like to see this piece? And the more she did that, the more I wanted to see this piece. So we go in, she closes the door, I look at the piece of art, and I go, that's for me. So I came out, and she said, are you interested? And I said, I am. Well, I said, I'm not going to barter with you. That's the rule. I'm not going to barter, and I always barter, but I'm not going to barter. Close the door and decide how much you want for the Beach Is Coming. She came out, and they went, would you pay $500? You bet.
And you took it home.
And I took it home.
And when did you find out it was who Cumming was?
Well, when I didn't right then and there. I felt so guilty only giving her $500.
You assumed it was worth more.
Yeah, I mailed her another $500. Then did research on Beach Is Coming, which is an unknown name, unfortunately. It's really unfortunate. I'm not sure if it's because she was already labeled a lesbian. That doesn't trouble me at all, but I don't know. She just never seemed to have been a star-rated painter.
Okay, that's interesting. So there are probably lots of women who did things who never became famous, who never became well known.
No.
All right. Well, this has been wonderful, taking a tour through your home, through your brain to get information. And again, the lesson.
Well, the impetus of people that are listening, if you want to go buy a piece of art, start by going to a museum, look around, have the curator, have the docent tell you all about it, and then see what something strikes you, a period of art, and buy it.
Excellent advice. All right, Barbara, this was great. Thanks for giving us all of this information. And art is life.
Art is life.
And it matters. And it matters.
It does.
Good night for TalkBack. See you next time. Bye. Let's shake hands because they still show.